Hello. Today we're going to talk about the new power roof that is available as an option on the 1991 Cabriolet. The points we're going to cover are how to operate the power roof, the electrical and hydraulic components of the power roof and how they operate, and some troubleshooting tips. Let's start out by taking a look at the operation of the power roof and the components. The roof can be operated when both roof locks have been released. The ignition key is inserted into the ignition switch, and then press the switch for the power roof. A control unit located in the left rear wheel housing is used to control the bidirectional electric motor for the hydraulic pump. The pump supplies the necessary pressure to operate the hydraulic cylinders. The two hydraulic cylinders are used to open and close the power roof. The maximum hydraulic pressure supplied to the cylinders is approximately 150 bar, which is equal to around 2100 psi. All pivot points of the power roof frame are fitted with a Teflon-coated bronze fabric bushing. These type of bushings ensure smooth operation of the hinge parts of the roof frame. The power roof can only be operated with a key in the ignition and in the off position. To operate the roof, the locking hooks must be released, and this is done just like on a manual roof. Next, press a switch located on a knee bar below the ashtray. When this switch is depressed, two mechanical relays inside the control unit will supply current and ground to the bidirectional electric motor for the hydraulic pump. For example, with the switch depressed to open the power roof, this relay will supply current to the electric motor, and this relay will supply the ground. When the switch is depressed to close the roof, the relays will assume opposite functions, which will cause the electric motor and the hydraulic pump to run in the opposite direction. The electric motor and the hydraulic pump are one unit and is mounted to the vehicle body using rubber insulators to reduce the transmission of pump noise. The hydraulic pump is a rotary piston type. Hydraulic fluid enters one side of the pump and exits the opposite side under pressure to operate one side of the hydraulic cylinders to open the roof. By reversing the direction of the pump, the suction side now becomes the pressure side. The pressurized hydraulic fluid will then act upon the opposite side of the hydraulic cylinders to close the roof. Located within the hydraulic pump housing, between the two hydraulic circuits, is a thumb screw and a control valve. The control valve directs pressurized hydraulic fluid away from the pump and to the hydraulic cylinders. This also allows the non-pressurized fluid to return to the pump and the pump reservoir, which is located next to the pump housing. When the direction of the pump is reversed, the control valve is moved by the pressurized hydraulic fluid and once again directs the pressurized hydraulic fluid to the other side of the hydraulic cylinders. A thumb screw located on the hydraulic pump has two functions. First, when the thumb screw is turned counterclockwise all the way to the stop, this opens a bypass port between the two hydraulic circuits. With the thumb screw all the way open, the hydraulic system can be bled of any air that might be in the system by slowly opening, then closing, then reopening the roof manually. By manually operating the roof, the hydraulic cylinders circulate the hydraulic fluid back into the reservoir to purge the air. This should be done if the customer complains that the operation of the roof is jerky or when any work has been done to the hydraulic system. After the system has been purged of air, make sure that the fluid is between the minimum and maximum mark. The top will need to be all the way open to check the level. Otherwise, the reservoir could be overfilled. If the hydraulic fluid is low, remove this Allen screw here and with G2 hydraulic fluid, fill the reservoir up to the maximum mark. This is the same hydraulic fluid used on power steering systems on all Volkswagens except for the Vanagon. Now for the second function of the thumb screw. Should there ever be any faults in the hydraulic or electrical system, The roof can be opened or closed manually by turning the thumb screw counterclockwise until the stop. Some care must be taken when manually operating the roof. The roof should be opened and closed at approximately the same speed as it normally would operate with the hydraulic system. In order to operate the power roof, certain safety features were designed into the system. First, let's take a look at the switch for the power roof. This switch is designed so the operator can stop the operation of the roof at any given time. The current necessary to operate the electric motor for the hydraulic pump must first go through a thermal fuse or circuit breaker that is located on top of the fuse relay panel. If the system is overloaded for longer than 30 seconds, for example, the driver has forgotten to unlock the roof, the current is automatically interrupted by the circuit breaker to protect the system. After approximately 30 seconds, the circuit breaker will cool and reset. Operation of the roof is then resumed. For safety and technical reasons, the power roof cannot be opened or closed while driving. The control unit recognizes whether the ignition is on or off and only allows the roof to operate when the ignition key is installed and in the off position. Also, the power roof will not operate when the boot is installed. This prevents the boot, roof frame, and hydraulic components from being damaged. Two wires, one in the left front and one in the right front corners of the boot, inform the control unit that the boot has been installed. With the boot installed, the two wires in the boot will supply a ground to the control unit. This will not allow the electric motor for the hydraulic pump to operate. When driving and the roof is open, the boot must be installed. The boot protects against injuries from the roof linkage and also prevents wind from damaging the roof. For further details concerning the proper operation and safety precautions of the power roof, refer to the 1991 Cabriolet Owner's Manual. Now, let's sum up all the functions of the control unit for the power roof operation. The two mechanical relays inside the control unit determine the direction of rotation of the electric motor for the hydraulic pump. The control unit receives an input from the ignition switch and prevents operation of the roof when the ignition switch is turned on. And the last function of the control unit prevents the operation of the roof when the boot is installed. Now is a good time for you and your training specialist to review on a car the operation of the power roof, how to operate the roof manually, and the location of the components. Next, let's take a more detailed look at the electrical system for the power roof. What we'll cover in this section is the wiring and current flow for the power roof, and let's take a look at the inputs and outputs of the power roof control unit. As we mentioned earlier, the power roof will only operate when the ignition key is installed and in the off position. Voltage is supplied to the power roof switch via the SU contact in the ignition switch. When the power roof switch is depressed, this voltage is then supplied to the control unit to operate the logic circuits. Voltage is supplied by terminal 30 directly to the solenoids for the two mechanical relays inside the control unit. The control unit will supply the grounds to actuate the relay solenoids. The working current necessary to operate the electric motor for the hydraulic pump is supplied by terminal 30 via a 20 amp circuit breaker located above the fuse relay panel. This working current is supplied to both relays in the control unit. For example, when the roof is being closed, this relay will supply the current to the electric motor, and this relay will supply the ground. When the roof is open, this relay will now supply the current and this relay will now supply the ground. When the boot is snapped in place, a ground connection is made from the body to the control unit by the ground wires inside the boot. When the control unit receives this ground connection, the electric motor for the hydraulic pump will not operate. This protects the boot as well as the roof frame and hydraulic components from being damaged. Well, that concludes our program. Let's review some of the major points that we've covered. Remember that the control unit is supplied power when the ignition key is installed in the off position and the power roof switch is depressed. The two mechanical relays inside the control unit will supply both power and ground for the electric motor for the hydraulic pump. A 20 amp circuit breaker located above the fuse relay panel supplies the working current necessary to operate the electric motor for the hydraulic pump. When the boot is snapped in place, a ground is supplied to the control unit via the two ground wires in the boot. This will prevent the operation of the power roof and possible damage to the boot, roof frame, and hydraulic components. Now, to complete this session, go to the car with your training specialist and review the wiring of the power roof, and also check the inputs and outputs of the control unit using a multimeter. We hope that by viewing this tape, it will help you fix a car right the first time. And by the way, if you get a chance, take a test drive in the new Cabriolet with a power roof and experience Fahrvergnügen for yourself.